Welcome back or welcome to Sexy Business Podcast. I'm your host, Eisve.
And I'm Karolina. So today we decided to explore a little bit about the environment. As in the previous podcast, we talked about how to feel safe in your body, in your mind. How about the material world that is around us, and how to create the space where you feel comfortable, where you feel safe, where you feel motivated, energized by the environment that surrounds us. Okay? And I think the other day we spoke about us moving a lot through the countries, finding a different places to live. And what we came up with, why, when men do that, they are called heroes and how amazing and strong they are. But the moment the woman says, okay, I want to move out, I want to live there and there, she's like, oh, you crazy, why you changing the places and stuff? So we wanted to kind of more contemplate on that. So what do you think, Ace? Where do we start with choosing the environment for us, and how do you decide that it's a good place for you to be living or not?
I think the first thing is like by trying. A lot of people are like, I think that's where that accusation is coming from. Like, oh my gosh, why are you going and moving? At least to me, and I always I have this thing that okay, I've worked with my mind so much, but if I have specific seed that can grow in the soil, I can water the soil as much as I want. If it doesn't have the nutrients that it needs, that plant won't grow. And I think specific periods of my life require different periods and maybe a different environment. And maybe sometimes I'm more in the hustle mode. So I want to be in a very hyped, active city. And then sometimes I just want to be chilled in some small island. And I think this is what being not looked into properly, and especially as females, we know that we live very cyclically every month, but I see my life, I live in seasons, and sometimes I'm on a high tide and I would just want to go, and I create the environment that helps me do that and helps me boost that. And sometimes I'm in my autumn, in my winter, where I'm okay, now I'm taking a smaller kind of a slower ride, where people kind of look into environment oh, I chose this and I'm this one thing, where I think me, you, and every woman, we have so much in us.
Yeah.
So your question, how do we choose that? I think depending of what I'm looking for in my specific season of life, that would be my first thing. Is it growth? Is it expansion, something like that? And looking, oh, where is that environment for me?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding what that is to each person.
And what you need at that moment. Yeah, that's very beautifully what you said. That, a lot of times we think, or I think that, okay, I decided to be here, so it's kind of infinite. But it's not true, because life is changing every day. Your situation is changing every day or every month or every year, and depending on that situation, that time, that's how you see, okay, is this environment is good for me? Okay, so what I mean by that, let's say when I finished my school, I wanted to go to the university. Okay, I didn't have an option because, well, I did, but I would be studying something that I didn't want to. So I made the choice that, okay, I'm gonna go work first until I have enough savings that I can proceed studying something that I want, where I see myself in life. And not many people do that, Usually it's like, okay, whatever I got, it's fine. But I chose not to do that from the very young age, and I left and I moved to live in Ireland, as I mentioned before. And then obviously the life passed by, and the the idea was to stay there, let's say 2 years. But then everything was going so well. I got into the studies. I got a nice job. You know, I started to live a different type of life where my mind changed. Before I was moving there, I was like, okay, 2 years and I'm coming back. But then it changed, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay here because I see a bigger picture already than before. And I stayed for 13 years instead of 2 years, you know. But then after that, again, my life was changing, and I was like, okay, is that it? What do I want to experience more? What do I want to try more? And then I moved to Ireland, to Spain for a year, you know. But what I noticed that every time I feel like, you know, I want to change or something, I feel a lot of judgment, you know, from people around me. Okay, I have few people who will support on my ideas, but a lot of times I feel like I'm being judged, you know. And if I take in consideration, let's say, if it would be my ex-husband, you know, who decided to change, everybody will like, oh, he's amazing, he's so strong, he wants to travel, he wants to experience the world, he wants to do this. And I'm like, why do I not get the same the same yeah, why do I not get the same comments, you know? Why I'm like, oh, you sure you want to do it? Can you do it? You know, you did it once. Or sometimes I feel like this guilt that, or like shame that, okay, I tried this, I didn't like it, why can I not try something else, you know? Again,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned before in one of the podcasts that, you know, a lot of us are afraid to try something new, and a lot of us are afraid to do mistakes, you know. And yes, it's very hard to accept it, you know, because all of us, we want to be like, oh yeah, I made the right choice and I want to be proud of it, you know. But it's not always the case, you know. And yeah, so through the changes, I'm just thinking, you know, how, for example, you find that this place is not good for you, let's say, because you've traveled, you changed many places to live. What was pushing you to change?
My internal feeling, like for me, it would be like I would change internally. Like, for example, I lived in Egypt, South Sinai. It was a perfect place when I was like diving and just did that. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going back more into the business side. And I was like, I don't feel like that vibe is there. And now I look into that place completely differently. And as you said, you know, when I share the places that I live, people are like, Egypt? Gibraltar? What were you doing there? But it just makes sense to me from energetic point of view. So it's very interesting because sometimes it's just like a gut feeling. It's like a drawn. And I'm feeling that as well now. And it's really hard to translate that to other people who, as you said, are maybe captured by the place they lived for whatever reason. Maybe they're scared. I'm not even like, you know, changing. It could not be changing countries. It could be changing cities. It could be changing apartments, flats, or even like the work that is not good for you. And they feel like, oh, it's an escape mechanism. Okay, maybe. But the only way for me to know if something is good or bad, like I can think how it is to live in Dubai, but if I go and I spend a month in Dubai, I'm like, oh, this is actually the information. Do I like it? Do I like the weather? You know, like all like how do I know? By trying. And I say that a lot of to people, like this is very well known in marketing. Like we call it failure when in marketing is just testing. I go and test different things. I'm like, oh, this sticks with me. This feels good.
Wow, this is so beautifully said. You
Yeah.
know, it's testing, it's true. You know, we are just testing. There's no failures because we learn something along the way anyway. And I can really resonate with you about the why is it bad to try to find something better? Like you said, you know, oh, it's escaping mechanism. But why is it bad? Like, why we looking at it as a negative thing? What if I don't want to live like this? Why if I want to change, you know? I don't get it. Like, why the society has this as such a negative thing, you know? And even if it is escaping a mechanism, does it makes it worse if you try it? Usually it makes it better, you know? From my own experience, usually it actually makes it better because through this testing, I accumulate new knowledge. I have more experiences that I can use. Like, for example, moving into Spain, I learned another language, you know. Okay, I don't have it perfect yet, but you know, I learned a new language. And as you said, thinking about the country you want to go to, you can keep it as a dream or you can make it a reality by testing it. Because I think somebody said it or I read it that, you know, it's better to regret what you did than regret what you didn't do. And a lot of, like, let's say old people on the deathbed, they say, you know, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done this. You know, people never regret, oh, I shouldn't have done this. It's usually a very small amount what you regret. And that's why I'm like, okay, I don't want to regret those things. I wanted to try. Spain was always my dream. And I came here and I live and I experience all the things I want. Now, obviously, there is another changes in my life that I'm thinking of making another move, you know. But I don't regret any of this. You know, the people I met, if I wouldn't have moved to Spain, we wouldn't have this podcast. I wouldn't have met you, you know. So I started to see a lot of positives from this movement. And I think the world is so much more open now. Everyone is traveling a lot. You know, like all days, like you said, you know, it was maybe a big luxury to move somewhere for a better things. But now it's not the luxury, it's actually life, you know. We are not stuck in the same patterns, in the same places like our parents. Oh, they grow up in this village, they work in this village, and they grow old in this village. We are different generations, you know. We changing that, you know. And also, I think we should be in the place only as long as we feel good. As long as our health is well, good, our financial stability is good, I don't know, our psychological, you know, like mental health is good in the place we're living. How do you, would that be one of the things that you're looking at when you're choosing a place to live?
Yes and no. I think it was very much like that before before I would choose the places more like logically. And now I think, you know, I just want to tap into something what you said. Like you said that like, oh, Spain has always been my dream. And you even tried this dream a couple of times. You came here a couple of years ago, then you went away, and then you're back here. I feel like the scariest part is, as you said, like to make a mistake, like whatever parameters I might choose, as you said, I might go to another country, I might not like it or whatever, but you might move to another country and you might learn things to understand that the parameters you were using were the worst indicators in the world, because like now I'm in this new space that provided me like an expansion that I needed
Yeah.
to actually understand what I want and maybe go back to the space that I was, or maybe look for something else. And I think, you know what you said, like, oh, how our parents were, like, I am an archaeologist, so we actually nomadic. We started living in the places for like comfort. That's when we started to like, you know, to grow things. But we always moved for better, like, oh, okay, the season changed and like we pack the things and go. So it's a very natural way to go and find a better land. So the parameters are different what the better land is for you. Back in the days, it was, you know, food related, mating related, and so on. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for a mate now? Maybe, you know, you would move for that because you're looking for a husband, for a wife. Maybe you're looking for a better job. Maybe you're looking for a better safe space to grow your kids. Not every city is a space for that too. So I think those parameters change as well with the experience that you learn. And I think it's a very fair point to mention that going to another country, yeah, it's not a luxury. It's possible to do that now, but it is challenging. Like it expands you. You have to deal with so many things that like you would never think about in your homeland, because everything's kind of like, you know, in the back of your mind, you know, things. And here everything is a new thing. Like
Yes.
renewing some documents, you know, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think we should talk about it more, you know, because from the side, people only see, oh, this person moved from this side to that side. But actually, it starts in the head, because there is so many fears. Because as you say, in the homeland, everything is comfortable, everything, the language, the system, the culture. But once you move somewhere, it's nothing like that. Even though we are all human species, we have such a different cultures, such a different ways of living, communicating, doing things, that yeah, it's a lot of fears, and it's constantly stepping out of your comfort zone. Like, it's so uncomfortable. It's because you need to plan, okay, what am I going to do with the things I have already here? Am I going to send them to another country, or I'm going to try to sell them, or I'm going to give it away? There's a lot of stuff going on. And for me, in my case, I have 2 kids. So I need to plan the schools. Can I get into the school? I need to think about their mental health, how they feel when we are moving around like this. So yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of things comes into play. And definitely it's super important to watch how your physical health is. For me, for some reason, every time I try to go back to Lithuania, I lived there for 3 years through COVID, I felt like my health wasn't good. I don't know, it was because of I'm not sure it was the weather, or was it the space that I get back to, but my health wasn't well. Yes, I did have all the material things. So, for example, I bought a house, I had a good job, my kids had a private school. You know, for other people, it looked like perfect. What else do you want, Carolina? Because that was actually the question when I was like, okay, I'm moving to Spain again. And they're like, so what else you looking for? You have this, you have that, you have that. But for me, it felt it wasn't enough. For me, it felt too small. Like you said, sometimes you want to stay maybe in a small area, whereas everything is calm because it's your autumn, your winter, like you want to sit settled. But next thing you're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm motivated, I need a big city, I need a lot of projects, I want to do so many things. And sometimes the place you are in, it cannot give you
Can't
that.
provide you that.
Yeah, exactly. It cannot provide you. And for me, Lithuania was like, it's too small. I'm missing something. Yes, I have a perfectly situated life, beautiful house and this, but it's not enough. I felt that like that I need something more, something else. And that's what I made the move. And yeah, so it's like very interesting how in each season we change.
And that's also a thing that like me and you were living in the same place now, but like depending on the lens and depending on my parameters, we gonna experience the same place differently, or even like you probably coming back to Barcelona after a couple of years, it's also a little bit different.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
something that you introduced me to was astrological chart of looking into where it's a good place to live. But then it's also, as you mentioned, kind of like divided into parameters. So one is like for career growth, one is for health, and so on. And I have actually before never thought about it, that like, oh, okay, maybe one place is good just for kind of like one thing. And that's why now I'm more open into like, oh, I want to be based in a couple places because I'm a professional diver. So like I don't want to live somewhere where I only have water and then sand and there's nothing else, but it's great for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be based just in one place. But as you said, I want you to talk about the astrological thing. But then I don't know, like we face these fears of other people placed on us, because I was in a space a couple of years back. I have this, and I like to joke because I have Mongolian blood and they're nomadic. Like that's why I just like I just swing with that. It's just in my blood. But I was accused by my partner. Like we were splitting up, and of course, like he was in pain, and he was like, the way you live your life, you can't have a partner, you can't even have a dog. And it hit me, and I was like, maybe I am living my life wrong. And I had a dog back at then, and after the split up I kept the dog, but then I went away for 2 months. The dog ran away. Luckily we found it, but I was like, okay, maybe he is right. And for a couple of years I was like rethinking, like maybe I should choose like things that everybody choose. And I'm like, I want to be like located in one place and have my base, but I'm still looking for that. So now I feel more empowered in the way I live my life. And as you said, like that my parameters change and then I can change the environment too.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's tap a little bit more into the astrological part because this is a little bit even mind blowing. And I think it's a good starting point to people who have no idea what the parameters are. Or
Yeah.
maybe they do like, oh, I want to focus more on my career. And somehow something is not sticking.
Yeah. So basically, as we mentioned in the very first podcast, I'm interested in like astrology, tarot cards. I'm in general interested in energies also, because everyone can feel those energies, but only people who tap in their own kind of insight and listen to their own body, they can feel even more, if that makes sense, okay? So basically, astrology is like a tool. It's not 100% guide that you have to follow, okay? But this is a tool that can help you to find things and to make some decisions, because sometimes we are so lost. We're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And this kind of helps you because no matter what you get, let's say you throw some cards, yeah? Maybe I read them one way, the other person will read another way. But that means at that moment, you hear what you want to hear, because we all take in information in different way. And basically, astrology helps you. There is like the graph that shows you which are the planets in certain parts of the world, and each planet kind of represents what you said. Some planets like Sun and Mars would represent where is it better for your career. So if you want to make a lot of money, you want to be more motivated, career driven and stuff, okay? There is some countries there would be maybe Venus closer, so that would be more like relationships where is a bigger opportunity. It doesn't guarantee 100% that this will happen, but these energies basically helps you to show where is a bit more like this type of things would happen, like relationship. Or let's say if there is a moonline, it would be more about, where you feel more grounded, where you can express more your emotional feeling and stuff, and that's how I start to look at the places I lived, and what do they bring me. And for me, for example, the Eastern Europe where I'm from, Lithuania, there is some lines that goes and it's a bit more like karmic. It doesn't mean that you run away from your karma, but in certain different parts of the world, your lessons in this world comes in a different strength, okay? So I can go through the same karmas, but they're gonna be lighter or can be heavier in certain parts. But usually where we live, they are stronger because it's a stronger bond with your ancestors and stuff, and they can come heavier. And I think that's what I feel when I come back to Lithuania. I feel a bit more kind of heavier energies, and it really affects me more, especially like physically and mentally. And once I'm a bit more away, it feels a bit lighter because I'm not as connected, and I'm not seeing these people around me all the time, So yeah, so I mean, it's a lot to talk about it, but I'm trying to keep it light. But it's really one of the tools that can help you to make a decisions, But obviously, always number one, see how you feel. If that's the moment, that's how you feel, this place is good for you. Like even Eisve, she was traveling and she's like, oh, I'm in Mexico. I said, how do you feel? Don't look at the outside, how everything looks like. I said, how do you feel? And she was like, oh, it feels so nice and soft, You remember? So I said, so this is your main key telling you that this place is good for you because the feeling you have.
I'm also gonna contradict that, in a sense. You said like, because I know that, a lot of people who travel a lot, travel a lot, like, we go somewhere, we spend there like a year or something. It's not that much, I would think. But then we kind of accuse that we're lost. And I just thought about, now you're talking about the energies. I actually had one destination where I went to feel even more lost now when I'm looking back. And it was the diving location, Now I even call it like kind of like a mental hospital for people. It just seems like it attracts the type of people. But I realized most of us were so scared that like, oh, if there is change and I am lost sometimes and I don't know where to go. And I'm like, I always say to people, go straight into that. And it doesn't mean like necessarily changing location, but to me that was like, I went there, I only had the sea and the sand because I lost everything at that period of my life. And I was like, I need to be so much into that feeling. I didn't understand that, like, consciously, but back then, like, I needed to tap more into that to like transcend it and like, okay, now I'm done with this place, with this transformation, I can go. So, even like when you said like where you feel good, but sometimes maybe the period of my life is to go deeper into those layers and it's not going to feel good. And I can use the environment for that too.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That's what I'm saying. It's you want to live where it's comfortable, but if there is some traumas or some situations that you're going in your life, and this will help you, and this is where you want to kind of be in that moment, yeah, definitely use it. Go work through it. But because then look, you stand up, and you change. You traveled again, and you came out on the other side. But every place and every experience will change us, the perception, like you mentioned. I was here 8 years ago, well, 9 years ago, then I came back again, and my experience is totally different, and even I came back to the same town in Castel de Fels, I was even in the same town, but again, it's completely opposite of what it was then, because it was different version of me. And now I'm a different version too, so I'm not saying there is bad places or good places. It's just about how you feel in that period of time, and that's what you needed. When I moved through COVID to Lithuania, I needed it. I needed home. I was missing it. But also I needed to change that. I had the perception that because I left Lithuania when I was very young, I thought all the time, for 13 years I lived in Ireland, oh, if I come back home, is my family there? Everybody's gonna love me. It's gonna be so easy. Because before I left Ireland, I was going through a rough patch with my ex-husband, yeah? So I thought, I'm coming back to home, everything will be amazing, and I needed to experience that. And I needed at that time, but once I got better, I healed, I was ready to move somewhere else because that place was too small again for me. So the same happened for you with Egypt. You went to Egypt, I think, yeah. So you needed that time for your own healing and transformation.
Yeah, so I think the main part is like changing an environment is kind of like supplementing whatever is needed.
Yeah.
From the energetic point of view, whether that's like, oh, going maybe even like a lower energy point and just like, okay, but this is what I'm like exploring and going. Is it like support from the family or something? Is it growth and like money making and so on? So I think it's very, very much about that, like finding what I started saying that like, okay, what is the seeds that I'm actually growing, and like where's the good land for them to like actually nourish and grow.
The question is what? Where you finding it?
Oh, it wasn't the question. I was just like kind of like, oh, okay, like I'm always searching for the good soil to supplement whatever I'm now like I want to harvest. So I'm planting. And if I'm like planting something, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like all of the like greatest mentors that I'm connecting to are in US. So like, like whatever my gaze is, my focus is, like my direction can change so I can supplement the things that I'm working on to have, better network, better connections. Just looking into that, like, okay, how the environment can help me and support me.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and you know what? When I was very sick a few years ago, I remember I got this thought in my head when, like, so where is my home, Because I was like, so where is my home? And then I was in the forest actually, like those we have like really, I don't know how it's in the pine trees. Yeah. I was in this forest and it was so empty, and I was like hugging this tree, and I was like thinking, okay, so where is my home? Where is my home? And this beautiful thought came into my head. It's like, earth is my home. The whole earth is my home. So why do I have just this piece of land to call my home? The whole earth is my home. So why can I not move today I want to be in the forest, tomorrow I want to be by the sea, maybe the next day I want to be where is the snow, and the next day, and like, oh, I'm even getting shivers now. But it's true. Why, as people, we defined that only this is my home? No, it isn't. The earth is our home. And if in that point I want to be by the sea, I'm going to live in Spain or whatever. If that day I want to, experience more forest, maybe I'm going to be going back to Lithuania because we have such a beautiful forest. Or maybe one day I want to be beside the mountain. Why do I have distinguished that this is my home? It isn't. I want to have home everywhere.
Do you feel how expanding that feels?
Yes.
Because to me, like, I have a different analogy what home to me is. And I used to say now it expanded even more. I used to say that like home to me is me.
Yeah.
And somebody said like, oh, but it's really tough. And I'm like, no, because I remember I was leaving Egypt and somebody said like, oh, you're going home. And I was like, home is me. I don't associate home with the land. I don't have the feeling of when I'm going to Lithuania that it's home. But to me, home is me, connection with me. So wherever I go, I can create that through me.
Yeah.
But then also for me, it's connections. And my people are scattered around, the planet. So I will never find one place where like, oh yeah, I have everyone just in one country in one place.
Exactly.
So I will always keep moving, even though if I'm based in one place, I feel like that's the reality. If I want to keep those connections, I will keep going, traveling together with them. So I think, yeah, as you said, it's very, very beautiful to acknowledging that like, oh my gosh, we're so privileged to call the whole earth home.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. It's so beautiful. And it's like this realization was like light bulb for me, and I feel like my brain expanded. And this removed for me the judgment for myself, because obviously you hear from other people, but if you stop believing in this yourself, then you don't really care anymore about other people's opinion about you moving or anything. And I think this thought was like, it blew my mind away. I was like, okay, this is earth, this is my home. Doesn't matter if I live there or there, it's still my home. Everywhere can be my home. And as you said, no matter where we travel, we do create these beautiful places. And I'm looking at myself, I was like, yeah, like anywhere I went, I always find a nice place to live. I created a nice and warm home. I always make sure that my kids are getting the best education. I did not drag them to the random places. I always picked like nice schools. I did research and stuff. It's not like I moved, like I closed my eyes, I'm moving there and doesn't matter. No, I do research, but that doesn't mean that, everything will be given on the plate. Yes, we need to still look at those things, the job or the school or this and that. But you can always create a beautiful space around you. And as you said, our friends are everywhere now. Yes, I couldn't say that it's only this country or that country, my friends. It's so expanded because the way the world is running now is the same as going to another city. It's going to another country or across the globe. And yeah, it's definitely a privilege.
Yeah. So I think that like the main thing, if you're thinking of moving countries, just tap into it. Like, okay, what is the focus point that I'm supplementing? If you're lost, be lost. Like, go completely remove the judgment part. You can always go back to the place that you're going from.
Exactly.
And use an astrological card if you need to. I think the main thing is just like trust yourself, listen to yourself rather than try to seek for an advice of people who are not living the life that you want to live.
Oh yeah, that's very beautiful said. I think I mentioned last time too. I was like, I would not ask a homeless person how to be a millionaire. So why would you listen to the people who never did that what you are doing for advice? Why would you listen to that? So keep going, keep dreaming, go through those fears that's stopping you. It doesn't have to be another country, it can be another city. But yeah, as Eisve mentioned, just look what is the part of your life right now, what you want to do, and in that kind of way you choose where you're going.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to say it.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Keep subscribing, following us. Please always leave the comments. They are very appreciated. We always try to use it in our podcast and talk about the things that you asked us. And yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you
We
for
really appreciate you.
yes, thank you.